What's up, guys? It's another Sunday morning, so it's time for another installment of the CD collection. I've been up for a few hours already, but I swear it feels like I just crawled out of bed. So just kind of bear with me on this one. It could be rough going through this one. So I'm just going to jump right into this. First up, we have a band called Gasoline Guns. This is a band out of the Ukraine. This is their album entitled Motor Cult. There is a huge Motorhead-esque vibe going on this. The influence from Motorhead on this band is very prevalent. Um, Gritty vocals teeters that line between hard rock and heavy metal. Just you can tell that these guys love some Motorhead and they're able to put together their own music using that Motorhead worship style that just works. This is a fun release, and I do enjoy that one. Next up, we have some brutal death metal out of Ecuador. This is Gastrorexis with the Dark World of Parasitic Infections. This was released through Severed Records. I have a ton of Severed Records death metal releases in the collection, not only from that huge grab bag I did, but just through other purchases as well. This one's pretty good, just some chunky knuckle dragging brutal death metal. I do like this one quite a bit. The artwork on it too kind of sticks out to me. I don't know. There's just something about that. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I do like that one. Next up, band that you guys all know, we have a Gatecreeper with Deserted. Um, that's one of those bands, I guess a polarizing style. They were kind of head first into this death metal revival, this old school death metal revival that has been going on strong for a few years now. Gatecreeper was right there in the mix of that, stirring that up and starting that up. You can see that Brad Moore artwork on the cover there. It's been very nice to see Brad Moore uh, coming back and seeing his artwork pop up so much lately. I do enjoy his style of artwork, and I've been seeing it on album covers more and more over the past couple of years, and that's something that I really enjoy. And then we have the Gatecreeper and Unexpected Reality EP. This has already been out. I think it's almost 2 years that this has been out already. That does not seem possible. See, to me, it feels like this EP just came out. So time is just going by so fast. It's ridiculous. I think this physical release came out in January of last year of 2021. So next up, this is a band that I struggle to get into, and you would think on paper this would be a band that I absolutely love. It should be a band that I love, but there's just something. I don't even know if this band's still together anymore, and it's one that I tried to get into over and over, and for some reason it just has not clicked with me. This is the Gates of Slumber with their last full length that they put out, entitled "The Wretch." I love the artwork on this. The I love doom metal. You would think this would just be something that I'm head over heels in love with, and I can't put my finger on what it is, but I just have a hard. I've had such a hard time trying to get into this band, and it's not something that's not something you can really force. Either you really like you like something or you don't. And so this one just kind of sits on the shelf now. Every once in a while, I'll pull this one off because it's been told to me numerous times that this is their best release, and I'll pull it off and give it a spin. But generally, not too long into this, I'm ready to swap out and just move on to something else. So I haven't listened to it in quite a while. Maybe some point in the near future, I will dust it off and give it another go. Next up, we have Gates of Tartarus with Ascent of the Titans. This is an EP released through Transcending Records, numbered out of 100 copies. I have number 54. This is deathcore, pretty basic deathcore. I went back and revisited this not too long ago, and it just there was nothing on this that really even stood out. There's a track on here, I believe it's track 2, Before the Judges of the Damned, that Dickie Allen, a huge name in deathcore, um, has the vocals on, and you would think that would be something that just stood out, but to me it just felt very basic and forgettable deathcore. I don't know. I haven't listened to that one in a while either. So enough of the negativity. Let's have an album that I really do love. This is Gateway with their self-titled release. I believe this band is out of Belgium. It is Doom Death. Uh, in the on the inside it says medieval Doom Death, and that's quite a fitting description of this. This is the only release that I own from this band. I picked this up on eBay. I believe there's an eBay seller that I love buying from, that goes by the Jagger Jones. I've done some videos with some uploads. I think I showed this in one of the kind of eBay hauls that I did, and I picked this up from him. I got a steal of a price on this. If you haven't heard Gateway, I know there. If you try to look them up, it'll probably, especially with a self-titled album, it would be very almost impossible to hunt this down. But there's a track on here, track number 3, which you would think with Doom Death, the tracks are all very long. It's very varied. You got some long tracks and some shorter tracks, but track number 3 called Ka Lam. That man, that it's just the I can't put my finger on it. Just the riff, the repetitive riff that goes on in that track is just intoxicating to me, and I love this album. So I'm going to move on before I spend all day talking about that release. Next up, we have The Gathering with the West Pole. This one's okay. Released through Season of Mist. I think I got this in a grab bag through Season of Mist at one point. I'm not entirely sure actually how this came into being in my possession. It's not something that I would have sought out, especially with that artwork. I'm not a fan of that cover art at all. It's not something that I would have sought out and picked up on my own. Listening through this, it is pretty good. It's one of the higher points for me personally of the Gatherings material. It is the only release that I own from them. Just kind of atmospheric rock, female vocals, good stuff to kind of put in the background. It's not something I'm going to put in and just intently listen to, but if I'm looking for something that's just not super abrasive and to kind of play in the background while I'm doing something else, that definitely fits the bill for that. Next up, we have some more death metal, brutal death metal. This actually started out as, I think, a doom death band and gravitated towards the brutal death metal side of things as they started putting out full lengths and albums. This is their debut album. This is Gathering Darkness with Beholders of the Pain Planet. I believe this band is out of Spain. Don't hold me to that. It's possible that they're not, but in my head, that's where I'm thinking these guys are from. This one's not bad. It definitely shows its age a little bit. The production value on this is not the absolute best, and unfortunately, it kind of takes away from the album a little bit. Musically, I do enjoy it. It's just sometimes some of the production flaws on this are a little hard to overlook. This has been out for a while. It probably came out mid 2000s. I want to say probably around that 2005 range. Next up, we have some black metal out of Brazil. This is, I'm going to butcher this, Gehemenis with Ilha de Tormentos. Yeah, I know I butchered that. This is a reissue. I think the original full length came out in 2014, and then Metal Throne Productions did this CD reissue in 2015. Musically, I love this. Sometimes the vocals can get a little goofy on this with just kind of the shrieks and that type stuff. It kind of has those depressive black metal wails going on sometimes, and for me, sometimes if they're a little over the top, they can feel a little goofy, and unfortunately, that does happen on this album some. But musically, it is pretty good, and all in all, it's a pretty enjoyable black metal release. Next up, absolute classic. I love this album. This is Gehenna with Malice. This is probably their best album, in my opinion, hands down. I believe this band's out of Norway. This is when they were deep into the black metal side of things before they kind of made the transition into black and death metal and death metal. But this is an absolutely stellar release. This case and CD and everything is showing its age, showing its wear, just because it has been played. And I enjoy this one quite immensely. I will probably give this one a spin uh, after this video. Came out in 1996, and I believe this is an original press from the best I could tell. It's back. You can tell just the the case is a little scuffed up and dirty at this point, but I just keep it just because it is the original and it's still intact. And you can tell the difference in these older cases. It's just heavy. There's substance to this release. Back when CDs were king, and it's a time period that I really love, and I really miss. Next up, we have Gehenna with Murder. This is when they've kind of transitioned over to the death metal side of things. I don't enjoy this one nearly as much as I enjoy the Malice full length. This one is, I mean, they're still very talented musicians, and it is a good listen through and through, but I do enjoy the black metal side of their sound a little bit more. This was released on Moonfog Productions. I'm not sure when this one came out. I know it came out a little while after the Malice release did come out. Next up, this is an album that has no business being as good as it is, just due to the cover art. This is Genera Christ with a Taste of Death. I mean, you see that and you're not expecting anything good. Let's just be honest. You see an artwork like that, and yeah, it's not something that I did not have high hopes going in and listening to this. I mean, you've got the kind of zombie-looking man spanking the woman, giving him a BJ with, and he's spanking her with the neck of the guitar there. I mean, that's you're not going to think that's good. And it says bow down to the Lord of Sleaze down the side. But this is like thrashy. I guess it's thrash metal. It has some death kind of stuff, death metal type stuff going on this as well. But it's so much better than I ever would have thought it would have been. I had no maybe just because in my head I had set the bar for this so low before I went into listening to it that it just sounded better than it actually is. But for me, I mean, it's a fun listen, and I do enjoy this. So, shout out to Horror Pain Gore Death for releasing that album. Make myself a little space, and we will keep on moving through. Next up, this is an album that I've had in my possession for quite a long time. I think I got this in the actual very first Relapse Records grab bag that I did several years ago. Uh, I mean, it's probably over 10 years ago now. This is Genghis Tron with Board Up the House. This is cyber grind, kind of experimental grindcore. I hated this when I first listened to it. I absolutely hated it. And now looking back, it's probably one of my favorite um, releases that I got in that first grab bag. So it's kind of funny how time changes you, your taste change over time. Because I hated this when I first heard it, I absolutely hated this, and now it's something that I find myself seeing it on the shelf after not listening to it for a while and wanting to pull it off and give it a spin. Next up, this is a band called Genital Grinder, and believe it or not, to the best of my knowledge, there are at least four other bands using that same name, Genital Grinder. This is the one out of Italy, and this album is entitled Abduction. And obviously, with a name like Genital Grinder, you know that this is death metal. I mean, it leans towards brutal death metal, but it has like straightforward death metal stuff going on in this as well. And it is much better than you would think. You would think this would just be generic brutal death metal, judging from the logo, the band name, the artwork. But this is pretty solid. Definitely worth your time checking that out if you're into death metal. This came out in 2015 on Eyes of the Dead Productions. I believe this is their only full length. I don't hold me to that either. I could be wrong. It's early and I'm still sleepy. Next up, we have Genocost with The End of All Things. This was released on Ossuary Industries. I think it doesn't show the date on the back. I'm wanting to say it was very early, like 2011, maybe somewhere early 2010s. This is the only full length from this band, as far as I know, and it's also pretty solid death metal. I don't remember where this band is out of. Ossuary Industries is in Texas, so this band could possibly be out of Texas or Arizona, somewhere around in that. Um, I mean, as far as I know, it could be anywhere. I mean, it could be New York death metal. So I have no idea. Pretty solid release. I haven't listened to it in quite some time, but I do remember this being enjoyable and deserving of a spot on the shelf. Next up, we have some hard rock out of Leeds, England. This is Gentleman's Pistols with At Her Majesty's Pleasure. Received this in a bulk lot of albums that were released through Metal Blade Records. I like this one a lot more than I thought I was going to, just judging from the same artwork on the slipcase and the front cover. I didn't know quite what to expect going into this, and it didn't disappoint. Sometimes just going into something completely blind can be a rewarding endeavor, and that's kind of what went on with this. I have not picked up anything else of theirs. I know this came out in 2011 as well, so it's been out for quite some time. Next up, we have some pagan black metal out of Germany. This is Gernot with their debut full length entitled Winter Mythen. This one is pretty good. The one that I'm going to show next is my absolute favorite from this band. It's very hard to get their material here in the U.S. This one, I think, is a reissue released through Trollzorn Productions. It's hard to like you could there's discog sellers and sometimes you can run across these on eBay, but they're almost always international orders and you're going to end up paying more for the shipping to actually get the CD than you would for the actual CD. um, I got lucky when I found this one and found somebody selling it. It still wasn't super cheap, but it was worth the price that I paid for that. And this is my absolute favorite release that they put out. This came out actually in 2006. It's hard for me to believe it's been out that long. This is Mehr aus Wanderen Holland. Yeah, I butchered that, but I do not speak German. I love this album. I cannot, I mean, it's folky, pagan black metal, and I absolutely love it. I originally had this and I sold it, and it took me forever to get this back in my possession. When I was looking for this album, looking for this release, there were no copies for sale. And then when I lucked out and got both of these together, when I was able to repurchase this, it was one of those things. I was hard up for money, and I sold it, and it was like instant regret once it was out of my possession. And I spent far longer hunting it down the second time than I did that first time that I picked it up. But I love it. If you're into folky black metal, pagany black metal, then you will probably dig this one as well. I highly recommend that. They have two other full lengths that I just have not picked up yet. I need to hunt those down. I think one came out last year, maybe, or a year before, and it was really good. Next up, we have some more black metal. This is Gestalt with Ashes of the Soul. This is the only full length from this band, and it's pretty good. Just cold, uh, just black metal. I mean, it's just cold, icy black metal. This was released in 2013 through Heden's Heart Productions. That's the first time that I remember hearing anything from that particular label, but it's good. I can't remember where this band is from. Perhaps the Netherlands. Part of me is wanting to say Netherlands, but I'm not. It doesn't really matter. But good stuff there from Gestalt. Next up, we have some death metal out of Brazil. This one is a killer release. Just looking at the cover, you wouldn't think it would be so great in the logo, but it's just riff heavy death metal. And I was listening to this one earlier today when I guess an hour or so ago when I was pulling the stuff off the shelf and getting ready for this video. I did give this one a spin. I hadn't listened to it in forever, and it always sounds just as good when I return back to it. This is Gestos Grossieros with Satan Chandizing. There we go. And just looking at that artwork, obviously this one has been out for a while. I don't even remember when this came out. It's been out for some time now. I mean, you can tell just from that artwork that this one has been out a bit. I believe this is the sophomore release from this band. It is the only album that I own from them. I want to pick up some of their other material if they have it available on physical format. I was looking to see maybe if there was a date on here somewhere. Part of me wants to say 2011, but that maybe that's just because I've shown so many already that came out in 2011. Part of me is saying that this came out before that, so I don't really remember, but I do like this, and I want to hunt down some more of their material. I hope they have some stuff on physical formats that I can pick up. Maybe after recording this video, I will go on a little bit of a search trying to find some more of their stuff because that's some killer death metal there. Next up, the band everyone loves to hate. We have Ghost with their debut album entitled Opus. I'm going to butcher all of their full lengths, I already know. Opus, that's so hard to read. Opus Eponymous. Yeah, I probably butchered that. I do like this one though. I mean, it's Ghost. You know what you're getting. It's that rocky, that Swedish rock, Scooby Doo style music. I've heard that description being given to Ghost, and I mean it's one of those bands you're either really gonna like or you're gonna hate, and I do like them. They've only put out one full length that I really just didn't like, and we'll get to that one. But everything else that they put out, I have thoroughly enjoyed. This is when they had to swap over to the Ghost BC moniker. They have changed back to actual Ghost, just using Ghost now. This is Infestus Umum. Yeah, I'm not going to try that again. But there we go. Sophomore release. Usually the sophomore releases are a little bit of a slump. This one was still pretty solid. I may like it uh, as much as the debut, and that's a good thing. I mean, sometimes when you hear, it's kind of, I think they call it like the sophomore slump when it comes to albums, but it didn't affect them in my personal opinion. And then we have Ghost with you have if you have Ghost. I love this little EP. It's only I think 5 tracks, but the title track on this, I love that if you have Ghost title track. This has probably been played more than any other Ghost release in my collection. The most recent album is rivaling it already. I've worn that copy out. I won't be showing that one in this collection because it's filed away on a different portion of the CD shelf. Then we have their third full length entitled Meliora. I liked this one. It felt like a little step backwards compared with the first 2 full lengths, but I still enjoyed it. And then we have the fourth that I could not get it. This is entitled Prequel or Prequel, and I could not get into this one at all. I've tried and I've tried, but there's just something about this one that just irks me to my core. Had me a little worried about their newest release. Almost didn't check it out. Delayed checking it out a little bit, and that was a huge mistake because their newest album is probably my favorite release that they put out. So moving on. Next up, we have some post black metal. I've heard them described in other using other genre tags, but for me, that they're just kind of the epitome of post black metal. This is Ghost Bath with Moon Lover. This is unfortunately the only Ghost Bath album that I own. It is my favorite that I've heard. I haven't heard the newest yet. I need to check that one out. I say newest. I think it's been out for a little bit, but I think they have about 4 full lengths at this point. But this is definitely my favorite. This is the Nuclear Blast issue of this, released back in 2016. Just good, solid post black metal. A little, um, it's not as far as black metal goes. It's not as abrasive as some of the other styles of black metal. I think that kind of off put some people, but for me, I just love that. I love that Moon Lover release. Next up, we have Ghost Brigade with Until Fear No Longer Defines Us. Kind of melodic doom death mixed with post metal. Pretty good. I do like this one. There is like an acoustic track, I believe, on this one. I don't remember which track it is. It's been so long since I've listened to this, but I'm thinking there's one on this album that I did like quite a bit. I think that acoustic track was probably the most listened to track for me on this particular album. I have the follow. I think it's the follow up to that, the fourth release for them, entitled "For One with the Storm." This one they lean way into the kind of post metal side of things. This is probably their best release altogether. It's very atmospheric. I don't want to say atmospheric, almost like emotional. The atmospheric, there are atmospherics on there, but it's not generally what I would think of when I call something an atmospheric metal album. But they lean into that post metal and even post rock style and side of things in this. And it's probably out of their four albums their most solid one. Taking up enough of your time today. A little long winded on this one, but that's it for the this portion of the CD collection, and hopefully I will see you guys again next Sunday, and we'll keep knocking these down and keep moving through the shelves in there. So have a good week, and I will see you guys soon. I promise.